Welcome back to Valverde Broadcasting. I'm Duncan Casey. This is Richard Jackson. Let's talk The Flash Trailer 2. I'm going to say that once more. The Flash Trailer 2 for SEO purposes.
The Flash Trailer 2? Did you say The Flash Trailer 2?
I did. The Flash Trailer 2. Yes, welcome to... We just thought we'd pop this together since we are recording today, and this trailer just, as the kids say, dropped. Yes, I don't know quite what that's sort of... To me, whenever someone says dropped, it evokes imagery of an elephant shitting.
I knew it was going to be poo-related.
It had to be, didn't it?
Yes. On brand.
yes. The sultry wet thud of yes, so there we are, but it came out today and it's something worth talking about, so let's talk about it. Richard Jackson,
today we're talking about Michael Keaton is back as Batman. It doesn't convincingly look like his scenes take place in the universe from those films. He's back. Quite often people stand in front of blue skies. It looks kind of cheap for a very expensive movie. The star seems to be some kind of violent maniac that won't work after this. This is one of the many things they have to release before James Gunn takes over, but this one luckily has universe-bending consequences, so they can use that as part of the handwave, which I imagine is what they're going to do. And I wonder if they've retooled any of it to go like, someone else is Superman now, or whatever.
Very much. I agree. So the trailer opens with an off-camera monologue by Michael Keaton, and I think they've just they've realised that that he's the only reason anyone's going to go and see this in the cinema, so we may as well big up his stuff. I was fine with it. Like you say, like the aesthetic of his suit, even though I know they've redone the suit a bit, but they've still tried to keep it in the 89 Returns type vein, doesn't fit with the aesthetic. But then it's not supposed to, I guess, because he's from another universe.
Later. Well, I don't know. I think it's hard to tell, right? Like, I assume that part of the Flash pointing is that he goes to a different universe. I don't understand how saving his mum's life can make Batman 20 years older than Michael Keaton. So I think they must get him from another universe, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's what happens. He ends up, I think, in the universe where he saves his mum. That's the Batman 89 universe, effectively. So I think that's the point. Is it's like that's where he ends up in that timeline, because that's where his mum lives, but that's where
also
Batman is.
Stray observation: Billy Crudup is no longer Flash's dad; it's Ron Livingston.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. But again, I suppose if you're going to a different universe, but then it's like, well, at what point are you saving the same person?
This is the fucking Star Trek thing as well. It's kind of like, it doesn't make sense when they did the kind of Too Many Khans 2, Let's Have Another Khan, or whatever it's called, Into Darkness. It was like, well, hold on, why does the timeline change things before the incident that changed this? But it doesn't make any sense. How well the film will cover this, I don't know, or why. But I think primarily for people, for other men and women and people of our age who are not online all the time looking up film news and who are not, film dorks, there's going to be a bunch of people our age who opened their phones today at work or on the bus and saw Michael Keaton in a Flash film, and they're just going, holy fuck. Like, this is the first time, or perhaps the last trailer, the first time they saw it. And that's who's going to, people are going to go in their droves because Michael Keaton was Batman when they were a kid. It's kind of like having...
It's member berries.
There's why you have... Apparently the Indie Dial of Destiny flashback scene is 25 minutes long.
Wow.
James Mangold said in the press this week. So yeah, I think it's got that kind of member berries thing of, good for Michael Keaton coming back. I mean, he's got a whole performance in a Batgirl film that they just threw in the bin.
I know. I mean, I love Michael Keaton generally as a performer. Not just the Batman. Although I did like him in Batman, and I'm excited. That's the reason. Like, cards on the table. That is why I will go and see this. I don't give a toss about Ezra Miller. Yeah, it looks big and loud and dumb and fun. And you're putting, you've also got Batfleck in there, although to what degree I don't know, but he looks quite cool in it. Like, it's fine. It's just dumb as a bag of rocks. The Supergirl looks quite good, and I like that they seem to be covering her more like I want Superman covered, which is sort of actually enjoying, I mean, she looks angsty and teeny and whatever, but it's like she does fly around and do Supergirl stuff, whereas like Cavill just farted out and farted in, and it was like you never saw.
Yeah, because
do you know what I mean? It was just a blur.
A Superman film. That's
and that so it does look like they're sort of actually enjoying making some sort of superhero film, and obviously Michael Shannon's back as well.
Did you hear what Michael Shannon said about being in this? It's kind of great.
No,
he's just kind of like, I don't know why I'm there. My character died, but whatever. Oh, hold on, I'll turn my little red light on for a bit more interest again. Yeah, he was fully just kind of like, I don't know why I'm in this.
I didn't read it. Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean, because I think this got off the ground certainly as a project around the time that Spider-Man: No Way Home was in the offing as well. You know, this has been a delayed beyond delayed, and it's kind of like really this. And Flashpoint is the kind of original, you know, hopping between universes type storyline. Not the original, but I think it is. It
only came out about 10 years ago, Flashpoint.
Right?
And you know I don't just contradict you to be a cunt, but like
no. I mean,
the other multiverse stuff in comics,
yeah, it goes way back.
It goes way back. Yeah, the big modern one is probably Flashpoint, I suppose. And Spider-Verse was a comic first as well in the last 10 years or so. Spider-Verse comic, but Flashpoint.
What I mean though is the kind of one where you've got someone jumping between universes, or is that not? Well, no, that's not true, is it? Yeah, okay, never mind. Forget that. I'll cut that out.
However, no, don't, because Flashpoint is the huge modern DC one.
Yeah,
it's the big one, and it gave birth to like Thomas Wayne as Batman, which I would have quite. I would like to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne.
Yeah,
and stuff like
that would have been cool.
We might though.
There's all those rumors. Oh, he might be in it, and Christian Bale might be in it, and I'm like, no, I mean,
fucking do it. There's
no, I doubt it. I mean, maybe it's one of those things where like, would he turn up for a day and get in the costume? And
he just doesn't need to, and he's a man who takes himself very seriously. That's why I think, I'm going to go see it, man. Like I'm not a fan of the Burton Batman films. I think Michael Keaton's great in them. I've always wanted to see movies. I never thought movies would do. I always thought the multiverse was something that was too nuts for mainstream movies, and it's come around in a big way. And I thought Multiverse of Madness was a real letdown. And Everything Everywhere did a better multiverse despite being based on no franchise whatsoever. And I just want to see how this movie does its bananas multiverse madness.
Yeah, I suppose what I mean, this does have that danger though of being kind of a bit late to the party, because I think people are sort of getting a bit of fatigue with all that, and with superheroes, of course, in general. And that's where I think they're doing their whole No Way Home, like, oh, member berries and all that shit, and you kind of go, you're gonna have to pull something out the bag here. But the thing is, here's my prediction for where this will go. I think it will make $1 bajillion. And they're going to have to just throw it away, because it's like, this, as you say, it could be a jumping off point for a new universe, but it's like, but what is that going to be? It's because it's trying to distance itself from all this DC.
James Gunn's in place administratively has happened. It's happened. So this is all getting kicked in the nuts anyway.
Same thing with like Aquaman 2. That's been sat around. Like, what is going on? Like, that's supposed to be, but they threw a ton of stuff in the bin. Like you said, that Supergirl stuff. There was a trailer release, wasn't there? That was a bit weird and a bit like it didn't feel like, because at the end, two gangsters come in and go, we're the Warner Brothers, and shoot everyone. And it's like,
what
it's honestly, look it up. That it's supposedly, it was like put together from some released footage of it. And it does look legit in terms
of the Batgirl movie, you mean?
For the Batgirl movie. And it looked terrible. Like the dialogue was awful and everything. But you kind of go, I don't know. I just don't know what's happening with that.
It's fucking mad, isn't it? Like, I think you're right, and I think the thing to do is to lean into Michael Keaton, because whoever thought Michael Keaton would come back?
Yeah. So it's fine, I think, but it's one thing to. I think there are ways to do it tastefully, to have him in it, to make his Batman relevant in the context of this film and all that. But it so fucking leans into, like, he goes, yeah, I'm Batman, and then he goes, want to get nuts? And like, fuck off. That's not a thing he says. Do you know what I mean? It's like he said it once to the Joker. Do you remember? Like, and it's, and now it's a thing. I know. It's like, I say this every Wednesday.
We've talked about this before, and you said it about the RoboCop video game trailer, where like, because he says Dead or Alive, and it's like, yeah, but he just seems to be stood in an empty room saying it, because it's like the Batman one. He's just stood there going, "You want to get nuts?" And it's like that post-credit scene from the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead, where it's just Bruce Campbell going, "Groovy, It's like, why and to who? And where is he? And what does that mean? It's divorced of context. It's like,
I mean, I'm assuming in this film he's saying it to Barry Allen, the Barry Allens, after he's, you know, when they're formulating a plan to save the world. Basically, I'm assuming that's what that is.
I mean,
but still, it doesn't add up. Like, it's not.
Yeah, yeah, that and it's and will that even be in the movie?
No,
and also, Michael Keaton has to have a hairpiece because God forbid Batman be bald. That's madness.
I know. I would have preferred it if they just let him have.
I get it. Kind of makes him look a bit more like he used to, but it's fucking Michael Keaton. No one's going to mistake him for Matt Lucas. Do you know what I mean? It's not really an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, because I just the fact that this exists is enough to make me go see it. Like, and probably like, hey, maybe do you know what I'd really like? I think the way you kind of teed it up when you talked about it was like, hey, it could be like this big, dumb, mad, fun thing. In which case, bang, I'm in. I'm there. I want it.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, in a way, it's nice because we know this is it's so funny that this is coming out and it's like it's dead in the water anyway. Like none of this shit's gonna matter.
Like Shazam 2, right? Like it was just people knew, and I feel really bad for David Sandberg because I think he's a good dude. Like people just, it seems like people could smell death on it, and we're just like, because Shazam 1 did really well, so they made another one.
Yeah, you know, and it was good. It was one of the few really good things. And the thing is, this will be good not because of it's just sort of rotten in a way because it's kind of like, well, it's based on a version of Flash that was crap, and it's played by he's a nutter who no one likes, and it's like, so you feel like you just have to sit through him.
Well, it's because it's you know, no one ever thought they'd cancel Batgirl, but in this case, right, they've spent too much money. And they can't bring Michael Keaton back and bin both the projects he's in.
No.
You know what I mean? So there's this face-saving exercise. And then James Gunn's going to reboot the whole thing anyway. So
this will have an after-credit scene where, you know, it's like, oh, I'm the new Superman or whatever. You know, it's going to have that. It's just going to have that.
He's just stood in the middle of a room and goes, "You will believe a man can fly." No, I never said that, but you get the
yeah. Statistically, it's still the safest way to travel. But at the end,
they're not presently flying, and then it ends.
Yeah, and like Brandon Routh will have a cameo or some fucking thing. You know, it will be that, won't it?
Well, you know, because the Crisis CW shows had a post-credit sequence where Grant Gustin Flash meets Ezra Flash.
Ezra Flash. Yeah.
So, like, you know, they did open up the whole, and that had the Batman '89 universe in it briefly with Knox in it, because it's the only one they could afford. You know, so I sort of wonder if, because I don't know if I said this to you about Multiverse of Madness, but Multiverse of Madness should have been called Doctor Strange and 7 different rooms. Because it seemed like he would fly through and go for 5 seconds, and then like the next multiverse universe would be he's in a room talking to someone, then he goes to the next one.
Yeah, I think the biggest crime with that, because the trouble is, No Way Home had it had weaned us onto or like taught us that multiverse films meant you had people from, you know, defunct franchises coming back into the modern day. Which, so you sort of expect, multiverse is actually in the title and it's going to be a thing, so wow, we're going to have tons of that, and it's like none of that.
I just wanted like I wanted the odd, like, totally seriously, I wanted, like, as Dan Lyle's made for his poster, like Bruce Campbell's cameo should have been as like an alternate Nick Fury, and like maybe some of the TV Marvel actors, you know, no one huge but like odd ones. But what I mostly wanted was just balls out madness, where it's kind of like, oh, well, they go to the fucking one where everyone has airships that are made of ham, and, you know, in this one everyone's a elephant, you know, like really bonkers. And it was like, no, this is where Doctor Strange is evil in a room, and it was like, this universe has trees everywhere. Imagine that, trees. It was just kind of okay.
And this one has Charles Xavier, and this one has, you know, and it was
the most interesting one that's just done as a sort of one scene gag.
Yeah, and then everyone's killed away, and it's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, what worries me about this is, like, it looks visually quite bland, and it's kind of like, is this going to be like that? It's like the whole thing just going to be they're going to be waving their Michael Keaton Batman dick around, and then there's a big punch up with Zod against a blue sky for the end of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think I get the impression, because you know how reactive these studios are now, especially Warner Brothers. They'll look at test screenings and reactions to trailers, and it will be like that. You can tell because this second trailer is all Michael Keaton all day long, and you're going, are you going to start fucking with the film to make it more Michael? Is it going to be like you're going to cut down the opening, so it's going to be like, I'm sad my parents are dead. I'm gonna run really fast or whatever. Oh, hi, Batman. It's like, is it gonna be like that? Is it gonna be like ridiculous?
Let's get nuts. I'm Batman.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna be more fucking. Tell your friends about me. It's like, who did you say that to? I don't. What?
What is this?
Why?
I
I
discovered recently that from social media, the Batman suits, the redesigned Batman suit, the Batman suits you see are designed by Chris Weston, who is a very storied Judge Dredd artist, and I have one of his original pages over there on my wall that I bought from him at Comic-Con, name drop. Nice. And because he ended up doing loads of stuff for the Hughes brothers, and he's done loads of design work for films that didn't get made, loads of design work for films that do get made, and he is not only an amazing artist, but he's a very, very, very knowledgeable dyed-in-the-wall comic book artist. Like, he knows fucking Batman inside out, and he designed those suits, the new suits. I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to seeing some Chris Weston. I see some Chris Weston work in that, because he's awesome.
I saw an interview with him where he talked about them, and he said, like, we wanted to get in. He wasn't getting drawn on how much they're utilized, and I think they're just in that shot when they're revealed.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But he was like, "Well, I wanted to put so there's a classic like blue and grey one, and Ben Affleck's one's a bit more like that. I think he's got a blue cape and cowl,
kind of Neil Adams type. They've got one with two pistols to look like when Batman uses a gun, but they're actually grappling hooks. But it's like, and there's
the ears on his thing are more like the devil horns that they are in the original,
and it's a bit kind of like Volcano Adventure Batman and Ice.
Well, I think that's Batman. What he said. I think that was an homage to that. There was like, because there was a toy made of Michael Keaton's from Batman Returns, and so that one's in there. I think basically he put that in. Like, it's got a breathing
I think we
mask.
read the same thing. Sounds like.
Yeah, it could have been. But I agree. I like that. I like those touches, but then you kind of go, is that just a throwaway thing? That and it probably
is. And they put it in the film for the trailer, right? So it all lights up. Like So
I think you made a good point. Seeing this this Batman in that, in those contexts, it was never meant to be. Like, it is weird. Like when he obviously turns all CGI and like falls out of his plane. And then he spreads his wings out like he does in Batman Returns. But this time, like that bit in the first trailer where he jumps down. Again, what is with going into these sort of like tunnels and under thingies? Because it seems like the Steppenwolf fight thing is somehow in this. But like he jumps down that. Well, that's what it looks like, right? Because it's all set in those underground tunnels again, just like in Justice League. But he jumps down and like whips up a guy and beats the shit out of him. It's like, that Batsuit was never meant to do that. Yeah,
it's the thing. I'm a believer that when you do it, like, when you, for example, go to the Michael Keaton Batman universe, my view is, from a filmmaking perspective, that's what that universe looks like. Big sets and smoke. It's just how that universe looks. It's how the laws of physics work. That's how we tie it together. I know it's a bit kind of autistic brained of me, but I think there's a lot to be said. So it's like Into the Spider-Verse, wonderful, wonderful film, probably the best possible version of multiverse stuff, right? The different characters move at different frame rates and have different animation styles, right? Because they look different depending on what universe they come from. What appears to be the Michael Keaton Batman universe now looks like the universe from a film that was made 3 years ago and then delayed because of a global pandemic. It doesn't look like the universe from which he's supposed to spring.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's not like I didn't write the book on this shit. It's just how I would do it, and it just kind of jars with me. I think there should be an appreciation for that aesthetic.
I think it's the sort of Alien Covenant versus Alien type thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, this is supposed to be that Batman universe, but 30 yeyears later or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, like you can accept that like technology's moved on, but like I know what you mean. It needs to be like, a bit.
I find with technology moving on, but it reflects real world filmmaking technology moving on.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a giant CGI. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a CGI, but I think it should be made to look like the. And I because there's the exterior shot of Wayne Manor is really cool, but it looks like one of the ones from Justice League.
Which it might be, because don't forget Ben Affleck's Batman's in this.
I was just kind of
But I take your point. No, I mean, I think the Batcave looks just basically on par with what it is in the Keaton verse, except for that in those you didn't have a giant waterfall because it wasn't. You didn't go through a waterfall to get to it, did you? And it was like and so they kind of melded it with the Nolan verse Batcave, I think. But yeah, I mean, and it's got the old Batmobile in, and he's got his bat wing as well.
Yeah, because it's kind of hanging from the ceiling, right?
Yeah, it sort of folds out of the ceiling or whatever, and it's like that's fine. I mean, like I say, I just don't think him dancing around doing all the kind of funky moves that you expect from Ben Affleck's Batman. It's not, and it's like that's like so you've got you've got him, you've got Affleck, you've got Robert Pattinson, you've got all these Batmen floating around in current films. And it's like, and then they're going to reboot it in theory, right? So we're going to have another Batman in the James Gunn-ville.
Yeah, unless they want to carry over fucking Keaton and have 80-year-old Batman. Who knows? Maybe they will and do it as like a Batman Beyond type thing. I don't know, but like all bets are. I will say this, like, you know, all bets are off now.
Yeah,
I mean, like the new Batman could be a shoe full of mints for all I know. Like it's just like you know, and I'd be like, well, I suppose that makes sense. Nothing means anything anymore. Like the idea once that Batman and Superman would coexist in a film was just insane, and now there's 90 versions of that. Or whatever.
Yeah, but then what's funny is like all the touch points that people would talk about. So it's like, oh, having Batman and Superman in a film, unthinkable, and it's like they even put it in I Am Legend. Yes. You know, a poster of it and all that shit, right? Because it was just sort of this insane crossover that no one ever thought would happen. But then everyone else did it, and then they did it badly. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Avengers did it, and then you did Batman versus Superman and fucked it up. And it's like, but now we're still reaping the reward of that 10 years on, and you kind of go, what the hell? But I'm intrigued to see it. I think. If they're smart, and like we've said before, like they should have jumped off this new DCEU from Green Lantern, because if you were smart about it, if you did like a Grant Morrison, it could have been way ahead of the game. And I think if they're smart with this, they should do that and try and bend the superhero genre, because people are so sick of it. But how this trailer's put together anyway, it looks so boilerplate in terms of the visuals. It's like, you know, they all jump out of the plane and skid towards the camera. All the like, because I know you're jumping into like the Man of Steel stuff with the Zod, the Metropolis battle again, and like all that stuff, and so you're revisiting stuff, but it's kind of like it still looks really bland and, you know, green screeny.
This is, you know what you're saying earlier about them kind of tooling it up as they go, right?
Yeah,
it's like this is what green screen allows. Because, you know, I'm not criticizing green screen. I fucking use it all the time for work. I'm not mad. But, like, you can go to a test screening and go, like, actually, this should be set in a jungle, not a car park. And then they can do it. You know what I mean? And that's really what happened with Joss Whedon's Justice League, right? And putting Batman on greengrocer's grass and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was, like, because you can.
Yeah.
And you can be far more reactive. It's not like film anymore. Now we're in digital. You can fuck around with stuff till the cows come home. I mean, if they wanted to, they could deep fake Michael Keaton's face onto every character. They really wanted to.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, certainly as an actor, it's deeply frustrating, because it's kind of like, well, now 80-year-old Harrison Ford can still play Indiana Jones, you know, and like Michael Keaton will be Batman again, and it's kind of like, can someone have a go who hasn't already got like decades of opportunity behind them? You know, I'm not saying Michael Keaton shouldn't work or even shouldn't play Batman, but it's kind of like, can you try and look for someone else? Maybe, like, it's just no one gets to look in at this shit anymore.
There's going to be 47 different Batman, so I wouldn't worry about it.
And I think as well, when you go like, you have the pick of every actor in the world, and you picked a fucking psychopathic, violent, you know, sex offender to play the Flash. Allegedly, or whatever.
Well, this
you know,
is the thing,
and
it's yet another thing where they locked down Ezra Miller 100 years ago, and then Ezra Miller's turned out to be a fucking wrong-in. It's like, but now you're stuck with it, and you've made this move where you've brought back your kind of signature star, and you have to let it out of the gate with this nutter at the as the, you know, the headlining star.
The eponymous fucking character, you know, and by all accounts, like several different versions of him, because I think isn't the main, because they haven't really said who the main bad guy is. You see Zod in the trailer, but he seems to be just sort of part of.
Well, I think wasn't like, because in Flashpoint, isn't the idea that Reverse Flash killed Flash's parents and Frank's dad? So I don't know. Yeah, because there's two Barrys Allen. Because I guess there's one that never became a Flash, but then he becomes a Flash. So you're gonna have to teach him how to be a Flash. I mean, the original, as I understand it, comics multiverse story was, I think it's called The Flash of Two Earths, and it's when Barry Allen met Jay Garrick, and that's the first time in comics to establish Earth 1 and Earth 2, I believe.
Okay.
So it, these multiverse stories have their roots in Flash stuff, and the fact that there was a different Flash and all different heroes was quietly just never really addressed because they'd rebooted them, and then they kind of went, oh, they're on different planets, different. So there's two Flashes in this. It's not Jay Garrick as one of them, but I'm kind of like, is that what we're doing?
I think if from what I gather, it's like he obviously, like Flashpoint Paradox, tries to go fast enough to go. Isn't it that he tries to go fast enough to go back in time to try and save his mum, but ends up but he ends up in a different universe.
Oh no, he does save his mum, but the consequence of saving his mum is that it rewrites history so drastically that it's the horrible nightmare world. Basically, that's the one. So Superman's just like a captive in a bunker somewhere. Bruce Wayne was all shriveled up, but like Thomas Wayne became Batman. Martha Wayne became the Joker. The Atlanteans and the Wonder Woman people, Themyscirans, are at war. So he has to and the idea is like you can't have your mum, because if you have your mum, then the whole world's this awful apocalyptic dystopia. So
because what it looks like in this film is he does that, whatever version of that is, but ends up in the sort of Burton verse, I suppose, which is the version of. That's what it looks like to me. I think he ends up there, but what happens is that he's not the Barry Allen of that universe, and in order to. Because it says in the trailer, doesn't he, that metahumans don't exist anymore or something. He created a world where there aren't any superheroes, effectively, in his own timeline, I think.
Yeah, I think
so. He's got to try and go back.
But he's rewritten his own timeline, but then he goes to the Michael Keaton dimension.
It's unclear as well, because you never see Keaton and Affleck on camera together, not in the trailers anyway.
Yeah, and the thing, because what makes sense about what makes sense, the thing about Flashpoint is he rewrites history, butterfly effect. He just goes to the different timeline where Thomas Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
If he saves his mum, how does that turn Michael Keaton into
Ben Affleck into Michael Keaton?
Yeah,
it reads more to me like he's just going around the multiverse-y type thing, where it's like, he's gone into the Burton verse, and then he's going.
Right? Yeah, he goes on tour, like for whatever reason, like in the style of Multiverse of Madness. I'm sure it'll all make sense in the film.
I think because I mean, however it works out anyway. Obviously, he needs Michael Keaton's help to rewrite his own timeline to bring back metahumans, and I guess that's where like Ben Affleck's Batman would be the one that survived if for whatever reason it's metahumans that get wiped out, because he isn't one. So there's no Superman, but there's Supergirl, and I gather she's in a bunker because they go and get her out. Aren't there scenes in like a nice Arctic
she's there, because it's not
thing, and she's in a gown. She's in like a surgeon's gown and stuff. So.
Well, remember in Man of Steel when he goes to the Kryptonian ship, there's an empty pod that's supposed to be Kara's. I guess they're tearing up from that, right? Because Zod's in it. So they did
a cartoon or a comic about that as well. There was a comic, I think.
Didn't they? Yeah.
It was like a prequel comic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that Duncan, I think that it's quite soon. It's like 6 weeks or something, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I have to say, I'm sort of like, it looks like it could be big dumb fun, but as long as it's like that,
if it's a big balls out multiverse cartoon, I'm in. I'm probably in anyway. Yeah, because I just watched it before we came on. It's June the 15th, I think.
Oh, okay.
Quite soon, It's we're getting to the end of April, so.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think it. As long as it's fun and not too cynical. I think that my reservations are around the abuse of just lifting dialogue from Batman 89. Just why?
Yeah, and how much of that's just for the trailer, and it stood in an empty room doing line reads.
Well, it's just like, who's that for, really? I mean, we've had this. What was it? We talked about this on something else recently, where it's like you think you're pleasing the fan base, but the fan base is invested in those things, so they don't want to see you just piss it away on frippery.
Yeah, they want you
and
to
then
move those characters forward rather than just come out and play the hits, you know.
And the kids who don't know who that is and don't give a shit are not going to give a shit. So it's kind of like, well, who is it? They're just going to go, why did he say that? So it's just a bit, you know.
Well,
I think it's people our age making these things, thinking that everyone else gives a shit.
That's a good point.
You know,
that's a good point. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, but
you know,
again,
and
I think that this is the thing. I always say this. Like, though it might feel like it, the rest of the world doesn't think like us internet folk. The rest of the world is just going around their lives and doing their jobs. And they want to go see a film on Friday night. And a bunch of fucking people our age who watched that Batman, you know, 1989, right? It was Batmania. You remember that? It was fucking mental. Batman was everywhere. Totally nuts. Let's go nuts. And there's a vein of nostalgia. It was as big as Star Wars to a generation of kids. And there's a bunch of people our age who like movies and don't have a fucking clue this is coming, and they're going to be sat there watching a YouTube video about whatever they watch, and they're going to see fucking Michael Keaton as Batman. They're going to be to their partner or their whoever, we're going to go see that on the 15th of June. And it could be strong opening weekend and then it crashes because it's shit, or maybe it will just build and be massive. Who knows?
Yeah, the mistake I think people make, and it's very much an internet age thing, is thinking that this is like a worldwide thing. Like everyone knows all this stuff. It's like that it's common knowledge amongst everyone. It's like my wife doesn't know who the hell a lot of people are. Like if I say Michael Keaton to her, she wouldn't know who that is.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people don't.
This is and this is the thing. Like, you know, and they foolishly listen to the internet. It's like they made a meme about, you know, Morbius became a meme, right? The Morbius film, and then Sony re-released it because they thought people would go flock and watch it because the internet, as part of the meme, said they would, and then nobody did. Because, you know, this is it. And I think people, what annoys me about internet discourse in general, not just in films, is that there's an assumption that, well, the man on the street thinks what I think. The man on the street doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about.
That's true.
Know, so
well, no, it's the same thing with Twitter, isn't it? It's putting far too much stock in the sort of Twitter mob, whatever.
Oh God,
it's like stop reacting to.
So it's like stop reporting tweets as news.
Yeah, quite.
Anybody, like I can go and fucking, I could go do a tweet saying that I think orangutans could vote. It's not policy. It's something that a nutcase has put on the internet. It's not fucking.
Well, yeah, and just because a few people shriek about something positively or negatively doesn't mean that's the way to go.
Very rarely
because
represents what actual people think and what people's voting intentions are and all the rest of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I do see this as a sort of. It's one of the. I think, like I say, I think what will happen is this will make a lot of money. I think it will attract people for that, for the reasons we've spoken about, and then I think it will be one of those things where Warner Brothers goes, but we still have to put this in the bin. We cannot carry on. It will be one of these really sad, like, well, great, thanks for the dough, even though it probably doesn't make up for all the losses they've had. Yeah. But you know, and then it will be like you can't, and it will sort of be lightning in a bottle because you can't really make the sequel to The Flash because that's just going to be. And again, this is a bit sort of like Winter Soldier-y stuff. It's that kind of like, yeah, it's a Flash movie, but really it's a universe. It's like it's an ensemble movie. Like none of these things are ever like, because the first Captain America film was a Captain America film, but every subsequent one was really a sort of Avengers
Civil War
0.50.
Yeah, in particular was the
So it just had his name above the door, but it was like, I don't know why.
Well, I honestly think like the very minimum, this is going to have a mental opening weekend, and bad word of mouth and bad reviews can absolutely destroy a movie. You know, minimum. It's going to have a nuts opening weekend because of Keaton. And then if it is a big, wacky, fun thing, you know, a solid 6 or 7 out of 10 fun time, yeah, it'll go on to make more money. If it's an absolute toilet fire, which there's no way of knowing. It might be. There's no way of knowing that. If it's a toilet fire, bad word of mouth will kill it and it will fall off a cliff.
Yeah, you know. I do. I mean, I don't think it will be good. I don't think it will be a good film, you know. But I think it should be entertaining. If it's at least on level with like No Way Home was like when you sit and pick it apart, it's not a great film, but it's like, but it was fun and engaging and entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's all you need of it, you know. And it had some moments of poignancy. You know, we did something with the character. The character moves from A to B and it learns something and changes and da-da-da. Fine. That's fine. You don't need to do any more than that. I know it's like a lot of people whinge about it because, oh, that wouldn't happen or whatever. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
you're
because people go
holding
like,
it
"Oh,
to unfair
Spider-Man
standards.
wouldn't do this, wouldn't do that." It's like,
Yeah.
well,
That's why the thing is, people say that's why there's 3 of them.
yeah.
That's what Spider-Man. Well, one of them would, you know.
One of them just did, so I don't know what
Yeah.
you're fucking, you know. So yeah,
Pie hole.
I just think if as long as it's sort of as good as that, or even 80% as good as that, I think it will be fine. You know,
We'll see. I suppose we'll come back and talk about it after the 15th of June.
I suppose we will.
Goodbye. That would have been really would coordinate. That would have been a great fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I'm satisfied that we've shot the feces out of
The proverbial shit on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well,
go.
thank you everyone for that. Thank you for everyone for staying with us to the end. We hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any comments of your own about the Flash trailer 2, that's the Flash trailer 2, please leave them in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like us, don't if you don't, and we will see you again at some point for more of the same. Bye.
Tatty bye.